Hello, good morning. Welcome in to another episode of Good Morning NASDAQ. You're live with me, Dom Master Mateo, Mr. Mike Huddie, whose words are there on the screen, as well as Kyle Williams. Coming to you live
Hello,
on this
hello.
beautiful day, the 5th day of July, year of our Lord 2024. Coming off a very weird week, which we had a half day Wednesday, a day off yesterday for the 4th of July, Independence Day. And we're here on Friday with some interesting runners, some interesting movers. We got a big cap running hot and heavy. We got a couple gappers. We do have a couple gappers in the 60+% range. And we'll talk to you about all of that coming up in a second. How we guys doing this morning? How we doing this morning, guys?
Doing great. Feeling great. Market is plentiful with hot things moving. And although it feels like what's the word? It's not a slow day, but it feels like an off day because either a ton of people are going to be here or everyone's already taken their weekend early, given the odd schedule of the week. But when I look at what's moving in front of me, it feels quite hot market-esque. So excited about that.
Yeah, I just
Buddy?
want to start off by saying gracias madre for the introduction. And I've been kind of, not really trading this week too much. I've been kind of on summer break. It started July 1st for me. Still, keeping tabs on the market. There, like Kyle's saying, there's some really good opportunity setting up. So it pays to be patient and know your spots and attack when it's there. I'm looking at from last week. I'm seeing KOSS up hundreds of percents. I'm seeing Tesla run from 180 to 250. I'm seeing some cheap stocks that are gapping today that I'm sure we'll talk about. Some electric vehicle sector plays that I'm sure we're going to talk about as well. So just a little bit of everything for anyone, and that's the sign of a good market because when there's really only one thing where everyone has their eyes on it, that's where it can get quite choppy because it's overcrowded. So when you have multiple different angles between different stocks, it can really be a better environment. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome. A lot to be excited about. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July as well. I hope you lit a sparkler, maybe watched some fireworks, dipped your toes in the water, enjoyed this beautiful country that is America. I know Huddy is not in America, but, we forgive him for that.
Really.
Huh?
It's either Thanksgiving for me or 4th of July. I can't do both.
We got Jeff over in the chat, Fran, William Gregory, JJ, Timothy. Any questions you guys have, go ahead, post them over in the Clover Trading YouTube chat. Make sure, as always, that you are subscribed to the channel. We're on a mission to get more subscribers. And make sure you like the video as well. We like to get up to 50. It looks like a lot of people are sleeping in this morning or not coming to the market just based on the view count this morning. But we're here. We're rocking. We're rolling. Let's talk about something in Gap City. What do you guys want to touch on first? Want to talk about a whole sector? Talk about QLGN?
QLGN, biggest gap of the day.
I would start with QLGN.
All right, let's head on over to this place. It's called Dilution Tracker. Qualigen Therapeutics, 9.59 million float. A biotechnology company out of the United States of America. Let's see if they have news. Obviously they don't. Why else would they be running? Received NASDAQ notice of delisting determination a month ago. You guys see news somewhere else?
No. Don't.
No?
Wait, let me just triple check.
Overall risk is high across the board in terms of offering overhead supply, historical, and cash need. They have 2 months of cash left. What you?
They. Sorry to interrupt you there. They it looks like. They reported earnings on July 2nd, so maybe there's a world where it's like a delayed reaction, but I doubt it. But that was their most recent
Update.
PR that I see. Yeah, and on July 1st they PR'd about their cooperation agreement with 22NW, whoever that is. So they've had some news in the past that maybe any one of those reasons it's running today, but it would be obviously a delayed reaction.
Okay. Anything else you see, Huddy, in the dilution?
I'm not really looking at the dilution right now. Just again, cheap stock, so generally it's a horrible ticker. I'll take a look at it real quick. But I've been seeing this one pumped on Twitter. Again, I kind of follow a small Twitter universe, so it's hard to imagine that my world is really what is getting this higher. But Moon Market's been talking about it for a while, so probably a lot of people in that are excited about this gap up, and I don't think that's going to be good come market open. I mean, again, we're kind of in a market that benefits longs. Like, definitely from what I've experienced so far, like breakouts are working really well. It pays to be long, and when they get extended, okay, shorts are still there, but people are frothy, people are willing to chase, people are willing to be in anything that, whether Roaring Kitty posts about it on Twitter or Tim Sykes, or it doesn't matter. Like, people want plays right now. They want alerts. They want to be in. So that doesn't mean that these things are going to hold up, but I would be a little bit cautious on just the environment that we're in, and things are flying no matter what they are. So yeah, I'm looking at QLGN on the dilution tracker right now. It doesn't look good. This looks like a horrible company. But it's still up hundreds of percentages, and it's being pumped on Twitter. So either everyone sells today and it gets demolished, which is what I think is probably going to happen. That's just my personal opinion. Might not be right. Mainly because it's not really, to me, it's not like an OPTT. And maybe there were pumpers behind OPTT, but for me, that's like kind of a former runner attached to a sector, had a nice chart for a breakout, and actually broke out. Whereas this one's kind of gapping over a breakout level, has been front run by Twitter pumpers, isn't really in a sector that at least I know of. So that's why I feel like there's going to be people willing to sell at market open, and it might cause some downward pressure on the stock. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Or something
Kyle,
like QLGN.
when you pull up the daily chart, what do you see?
I see a stock that, I mean, well, dilution tracker really hit it home of just like it's the worst of the worst. You can't get much worse than that. Yeah, daily chart shows me really no action whatsoever. Of course, there's a few days with volume, but none of those runs succeeded long. And again, I have to go, with the little good old saying, the trend is your friend. And if you've been around the last week or two, gap and craps, I don't think I've seen, has there been at least one gap and crap that has not crapped? Right?
Not
Obviously, eventually there will be a shift. Eventually we'll get a good streak of spikers, right? I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying the last like 10 gap and craps, I mean, they have faded so heavily. And so until that shifts, I have to stick with what's going on right now. And given that QLGN has gotten every worst rating when it comes to dilution, it's hard for me to think that this is the one to shift it. However, it could be. Not saying it can't, but that's where my head's at on this
They
one.
also have some pretty ugly dilution.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, you heard it.
They have something going on right now. There's a convertible note from 2022 that, never mind. That was a year ago.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see much on this daily chart. It's not something that I'd want to be involved in long. It doesn't really quite fit the hot, chasey sector right now that other stocks that are gapping or continuing their runs are running off of. Low price, so probably not that much interest for a gap and crap. I know it's up 116%, but 38 cents, not prime territory. Going to be a lot of fees and expensive to short. But don't really have a lot of expectations for this one. It is finally above this resistance at 24 that it's set over the last few days on decent volume. But if it couldn't really move on those days, I don't have high hopes for it. Today is kind of a lower float for a 30-cent stock, 9 million.
Yeah, that's
but no, I don't know. We'll see by the open how interesting it is. It is the biggest gapper of the day right now, and it's not even close. There's not really anything else that's gapping up 70, 80, 90, 100%. So it will probably have eyes for a bit, but we will see what it is capable of. But I don't really have a bias on it one way or the other, and don't really want to play it.
We actually have two stocks. I mean, technically, right? Like if I'm looking at QLGN, what I do see is a technical breakout over 24 cents. But since we're gapping over that level, it's not really a breakout, right? It's in that weird place where it kind of broke out in the pre or broke out in the gap. And we have another stock that's kind of doing the same thing in the electric vehicle sector, which is going to be ZAPP, which is, I think, kind of where my mind goes next. Just another stock that's, gapping. Not quite large, nothing crazy, 54%. But again, this is a Zap electric vehicle company. So maybe a correlation to Tesla and Tesla's movement right now. This thing has a tendency to close weak and then gap up. But another one that's kind of gapping over the breakout level. It's not really technically a breakout until it really confirms it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, interesting chart here. 385 is kind of the breakout level that matters. The last 2 days, it's kind of come off its lows in the high ones, $2 area, bounced back, and then closed weak, bounced back, closed weak, without really breaking this key level. We have a lot of days that you can kind of base some behavior off of where it does 20 to 100 million volume and usually get pretty good moves. It's what is the float on this one? 1.8 million, so smaller float in the right sector. Says electric vehicles in the name. I know we talked about it a lot on this day here when Tesla had its big breakout over 200, and it kind of popped back up. But the main thing that sticks out to me is just the not holding gains part, but can have really big moves. So when we're gapping to this 385 area and we're not up 100, 200%, it becomes more intriguing to me if that level can hold out of the gate. And maybe we see kind of a bigger move, 455, 550 relatively quickly. But because of those behavioral reasons in this stock's trend, probably one where I'd be looking to get out into strength and move on. But yeah, interesting chart in the right sector. We'll see if what Tesla does has any bearing on it or not. I think a lot are expecting Tesla to have a red day today, or at least go red. So we'll see, but this is a nice chart that's kind of been one that's never really came off the watch over the past month just because it hasn't really broken down completely and just keeps kind of popping back up on volume and getting traders interested.
Yeah, but if I'm looking at this chart, we're heading into day 3. We're up, almost 100% from the lows, if not more, gapping over the breakout level. Maybe people are already in. So, in my preferred world, Zap fails today, we start another consolidation pattern, and it opens up the door to maybe sometime in the future where maybe Tesla consolidates for a little bit and then starts another leg towards 300. I think that makes Zap a much more compelling story than trying to figure out an entry up here in the 4s rather than the 2s. At least as a long.
Loraldo, anything on Zap?
Frankly, I actually have not even. I mean, I've pulled the chart up whenever it's being mentioned between you guys or the chat room, but frankly, I've never spent more than 5 minutes looking at it, and it's just one of those charts that just doesn't pull me in. It doesn't entice me. Not something for my personal style that I would long. And so until it extends itself and holds its gains, I just haven't really cared. So maybe it goes to 5 and holds today, then I would actually put it on my watch list. But for now, it's nothing for me.
All right. Why don't you guys give me a rundown of KOSS? I know Kyle did well on the parabolic on Wednesday. Yeah, end of the midday Wednesday. Someone want to hit on the story here? What's going on? Pretty big breakout over the $7 area, as high as the $19 area. Gapping up again this morning in the 30 percentile range. Kind of ABCDing right now. We'll see which way it goes on this Friday, but I know one of you knows the story.
So from my understanding, and I didn't really read it in depth, but there's a very long, in-depth Reddit post that went viral, pretty much comparing cost to GME and why it's the next stock that Roaring Kitty is going to buy. So that's what caused the parabolic yesterday. It's now gapping up today. There are obviously rumors that Roaring Kitty is then following up on that report and actually buying costs. In my personal opinion, I think it's unlikely he buys costs. If he does, great, more volatility for everyone. But he just bought GME. We don't even, from my understanding, I don't even know if he sold GME to buy Chewy. So now he's going to possibly sell or still hold Chewy to buy costs. I mean, he has, if he's still holding all of these stocks, has 9 million of GME, 9 million of Chewy. How is that even enough? Does he even have money to do that? I just think we're in a world where Roaring Kitty is just so hot that anything, even semi-tied that we can speculate to his name, is gone absolutely bonkers. I mean, even a ticker that was KITT ran because it sounds like Kitty. We're just, I don't know. It almost irritates me because I just what's the word? What he's done is incredible. Don't get me wrong, but the constant follow up behind him over and over and over again makes me feel like he's a bit diluting his value in some sense. It's almost like when you give so many picks, it starts to deteriorate versus just sticking with GME, in my opinion. And so this whole speculation behind costs, I don't know. I hope it runs. We're getting more volatility, but I don't really. My natural inclination is to be like, this isn't going to be as strong as the last one because we've already had GME, we've already had Chewy, and Chewy is the weakest of all. Chewy didn't even run. Chewy popped and then dropped every single time, right? So I can only imagine at some point like the momentum and the trust behind Kitty slowly diminishes, and maybe I'm just dead wrong. But that's kind of unless he actually buys it. In a world where he actually does follow through with buy cost, he will reignite his, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Momentum behind people willing to follow him in. So we got a mix of emotions here, but obviously, I natural inclination, like I said, is just that this is not going to be as strong as people think, and likely will fade off back to where it came from. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts here on this day. I didn't I was kind of in and out of the office on Wednesday, half day. Really big breakout over the $7 area. Kind of annoyed that this one didn't run. This was always my go-to back in the day when GME and AMC first started, when all the meme stocks had their initial runs. This was my favorite one because it was so thin, and you could just, anytime they pop big, you could get $1 or $2 a share really quickly. Because it kind of just didn't sell off when they sold off, and they just went up when they went up, and it was really easy to trade off of. So I was kind of sad not to see this one go with it really and become an extended runner back a couple months ago. If I was paying attention on, I want to say Friday, it feels like Monday, that $6.50 to $7 area, it had a nice ABCD above VWAP on Wednesday morning through that big level on really good volume, and then obviously the extension into the afternoon, and holding up this morning as well, holding green. No play for me today. The only thing I see is if it were to hold up, maybe we have a breakout Monday, one of those 3-day breakouts. But not really interested in shorting this. This is not my speed, not my specialty. 1-day runs that are so far off the highs and still plenty green on the day. There's a world where you could be shorting into yesterday's resistance, looking for a pullback into yesterday's support or into the $10, $11 area. But I think I'd rather just leave that to everyone else who wants to trade that. Just not my specialty, and I don't see a pattern for it today. So it's a cool thing to note. Nice. I'd rather have random crap running for bad reasons. I'm okay with that. But we'll see what it does.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, again, sign of the times, right? This is not necessarily a setup that should be, breaking out on so much assumption. And then, of course, it does, and it's a beast. Which is like, what Kyle said, KITT, which was like another, like, that should not have worked. And then it was a beast when it worked for that day and a half. So again, just breakouts are working right now. I think that's like the biggest note to be taken from this market environment. And then, kind of playing the ones that you specifically like the most, I think would whichever ones speak to you. But yeah, I mean, going back on this chart, it kind of reminds me of like APT back in the day. I was telling these guys earlier from the COVID run where we had like this mask company that like a very small portion of their revenue business was creating masks. Then all of a sudden, like people were like, oh, this is going to be like the #1 supplier of masks during the pandemic. And that never came true. And that kind of feels like what Cost is. Like, okay, Cost, maybe he buys, maybe he doesn't buy. But, at the end of the day, we're going to see the results. For me, it's just about playing the chart patterns, right? So, kind of what Dom said, this had a really big parabolic spike. I don't know who got hurt into 1875. Someone really got touched there. And, parabolic, and that's usually a sign of a short-term top, not a forever top necessarily, but, I see a world where dips towards 10 is support and spikes towards 18 is resistance, and just kind of playing the chart while there's momentum here. The best thing about this, it doesn't really matter. The best thing about this is that there's so many random kind of plays that are going off and working that a lot of novice traders are going to start making money. And I'm not saying only novice trade, like that's actually a good breakout on Cost, like regardless of the news, it's amazing. There's a lot of money to be made there. And the more people that make money, the more plays are going to happen because you have the money multiplier effect where everyone's making money in just random weird ways. They're going to have more money to spend, and then more stupid stocks will start popping up like QLGNs and stuff like that. So it just brings more opportunity for the rest of us. And then once you actually know how to trade chart patterns quite well, like I said, Cost is a good breakout. Once you know how to trade chart patterns and setups, then that's where, experienced traders will start shooting fish in a barrel because we know where to position ourselves.
Very well said. What direction do you guys? We got 4 minutes left. You guys haven't brought up any tickers. Drummer Max says, do you think breakouts are working well? Not much data continuation in small caps. I argue the quality has been quite good. I mean, you just look at OPTT You know what? What was the one we had? What you guys just brought up? KITT was a breakout over the 21 that went all the way to 40. I think it went to like 50 in after hours. What was the one I was just talking about? OPTT just broke out over 27, gapped up and went towards 60. GME was a breakout over this $17, $18 area, went to 60 something. I mean, even for the goodness gracious, Malgo even broke out of 15, went higher.
Yeah, there's continuation for sure.
It might not be in the general way we normally see, like on an OTC, like DEFTF, where it's just straight up every single day for a week. But we are getting moves past the breakout levels, and depending on the stock and the individual plan for them, we are seeing pretty good continuation. I mean, you got to be honest with yourself about the liquidity and what the quality of each play is. Like, there is a lot of stuff setting up that's very illiquid and lower quality, but there is a ton that is in the right sectors, doing really good volume on the right days. You know, I would say maybe one a week for the past 2 months. It's not where we're getting crazy amounts of them, but the ones that have the interest, have the volume, they are working quite well. And yeah, I think breakouts for the most part have been a lucrative pattern in 2024.
Yeah, they've been great. And you know, the three themes to kind of be watching right now, I mean, that we've been discussing for this whole 35 minutes here is, A, you have your meme stocks that have been breaking out well, so continue to watch those. You have your electric, vehicle or electricity, like the correlations to Tesla, like OPTT is not really that firmly correlated to Tesla, but it is Ocean Power. And you also saw VVPR gap up the other day. That's Vivo Power. Like, you have this like common theme. So I'd watch that common theme, and then also you have cheap stocks that are breaking out like OPTT and KITT. So these QLGNs and stuff, like, they should be watched and monitored, not just for today, but moving forward as well, because those are the three sectors that are doing quite well.
All right, last question. We'll get out of here. Someone asked RDZN for a push up. It looks like it held 265 where it should have broken down. Kind of got a little spike from the 160s to the 320s. Topped out red day yesterday.
Look at that.
Kind of an interesting. The run was in the after hours mostly, and then 9:30. Got the times of these charts because of the weird half day. Wait, so is that daily candle? I'm so confused on the time. This is Tuesday. All right, no. All right, yeah, so it's kind of setting up in that what Huddie likes to see, that 3-day pause look. Volume dropped off dramatically, going from 107 mil to 2.7 mil. I know it was a half day, but that's a pretty big drop off. I wasn't really watching this one on Tuesday or Wednesday, so I don't know how much interest there really is, but the spike wasn't all that great. It was a decent move from the 2s to the 3s, but chart pattern wise, that's your resistance level. What is that? 328. Not a lot behind it. This is a chart that's really never done that kind of volume, so this resistance back here really isn't all that important to me, because I don't think a lot of people have traded this or looked at it. I'm looking at days here where it's traded 1,000 shares a day. Don't think there's a lot of bag holders. I haven't really dove into the fundamentals or anything here. What's even the float? Float's 20 mil, so it's a little bit bigger. Rhodesan, D-SPAC, and off of earnings. So I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this one. I don't really have a comment on it because I haven't looked into it. But
I know vaguely that it's an AI insurance company. I know vaguely that they withdrew an offering recently. I know vaguely they used to be a SPAC. But other than that, like, I haven't really watched it trade that much. It seems like one of those, it's got a bigger float. I don't know. It doesn't really interest me because, again, it's not really one of those sectors that I'm trying to focus on. It's not electric vehicle. It's not meme. It's not cheap. So unless it's trading like obscene volume and has a really good catalyst, I'm probably just going to ignore the chart and just kind of focus on the area where I see really good range. Yes, there is a chart pattern there, and yes, it could break out. It's not where my focus is, so I just kind of let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. Alrighty. Well, that is the morning. Thank you for those of you who are in here, and the 39 of you that liked it. If anyone else wants to hit it on the way out, nothing wrong with that. We are running right now. Kyle, if you want to let them know about the 4th of July sale that went live yesterday, and you have till Sunday to get a discount if you so choose.
Yeah. So obviously not as good as our boot camp discounts, but we do that on purpose because boot camps are always the best. However, there are some people who didn't join the boot camp and have asked when is our next possible discount. This is it, 4th of July, holidays. 10% off any 3-month subscription, 20% off any 6-month subscription, and then 30% off any 12-month subscription. On top of that, if you want an extra 5% on top of that 10, 20, or 30, you can go to Clover's Instagram page, put their the page's your favorite reel or post on your story, tag Clover so they know, they'll see it, and they will give you an extra, I guess coupon code or coupon link, so to speak, that will then get you an extra 5%. So if you want to get fancy with it, you can do that. Otherwise, straight away, the coupon codes are in the link on our link tree or on our website, and you can get them there and then save 10, 20, or 30%. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, this will conclude an interesting week. Calendar should go back to normal next week. Should be a regular scheduled week. We will be live Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. for Good Morning NASDAQ right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. Kyle's about to get going with a 4-Leaf webinar right now, which is one of the perks of 4-Leaf. You get access to us live for at least an hour for each of us every week. And Kyle's about to do his from the revered Monster Truck Room. And we'll see everyone over there. We'll see everyone else over in the room. And let's enjoy this last day and get back to the festivities, I guess, for the weekend. And we'll see everyone on Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. Thank you for being here for another episode of Good Morning NASDAQ. I'm Dom. That's Kyle. That's Huddie. Have a wonderful, wonderful Friday.
Later, everybody.